the mid-1980s, a group of artists moved in here. The area back then was all Macedonian gangsters and gang wars and kind of derelict streets, and it was the dark end of town. But over the past 25 years that we've been here, we brought artists, we brought writers and curators to the community, and that brings good lattes and martinis and shoes.
This is Gertrude Street. This part of town was once characterised by drugs and disrepute, but in the last 10 years or so, it's turned into a magnet for local designers and other creatives who have now set up shops and studios here. This tour tells the story of the street and of the people who work here. Some say that this development started when Gertrude Contemporary moved into the large building at 200 Gertrude Street. This was 20 odd years ago. The gallery is now known as the incubator for contemporary art in Australia. Slowly, creative people took on the empty shops around it, where cheap rents allowed them to operate studios and even stores.
10 years ago, I actually moved into a studio space on Smith Street because I wanted to live with my boyfriend upstairs, and there was a shop front downstairs, so that was great for a studio. It was really, really like a dead end. There were Macca's wrappings or, rolling down the street. There was no one down there, but people started sort of knocking on the window and wondering what I was doing in there. So I opened the doors and had a tiny shop and was working at the back of the shop.
We had our eye on those little cute window fronts on Gertrude Street forever because they're just so cute, and they'd been empty. We'd see them turn over all the time. They seemed to get people in them for 3 months and then they'd be out of there again. And little did we know it was a major drug precinct.
Art and artistic practice are a big influence for designers who've settled here, and their work, their approaches and their inspirations reflect this.
I always describe to people that don't know about textile design that it's pretty much creating art but applying that to fabric.
So when we started it was very much with the idea that it would be more run like a gallery for clothing.
I find my inspiration often comes more from an art gallery or music or dance rather than looking at the catwalk collections in Milan or New York.
This tour tells the story of more than a dozen of those passionate designers. Actually, they tell it in their own voices. They talk about how you have to start somewhere.
We started with a jacket and a pair of pants.
Some describe how they almost fell into careers as designers.
We used to have a bike messenger business, and we needed bags for that purpose, so we made some, basically.
And others again were guided by inspiration.
I went on holiday to India, got inspired and realised I didn't want to work on the computer anymore.
You're sure to meet plenty of designers who don't just want to create pretty things, but who want to have a real impact with their work. A walk down Gertrude Street is like a display cabinet for big ideas.
I've been working with some very talented and creative people from newly arrived refugee communities. Couldn't believe how hard it was for people to get jobs. Observing their incredible interest in fashion, the idea for the social studio was born.
The tour also gives you a peek behind the scenes and has designers explain their work from the very straightforward to the very complex.
The majority of what we do here is screen printing. Entry point's dead simple and the science is dead simple.
Even the simplest shoe has got a lot of hidden things in it that nobody would ever know about that just keep it together in terms of structure. It is a really complicated process, even to make something very simple.
Somewhere between clothing and furniture.
Most work intimately with their designs and constantly see their work evolve.
And now we laser cut our own product, and that changed everything we do. It opened it up from being craft into kind of changing it to manufacturing.
The tour is a great place to see how the ideas and the products that designers produce are always driven by the personalities of their makers, by their own private dreams and motivations.
We were quite keen to travel ourselves, and we saw this as a good reason a good excuse to go overseas.
I find it quite rewarding to listen directly to people and get an idea of what is working and what doesn't work.
And on this tour, you'll get to share the proud and defining moments in designers' lives.
There was a few seasons ago where I felt like I really am a designer now, and I was happy with what I've done, because it's rare to feel happy with what I've done. It's so hard to get everything right.
A walk down Gertrude Street will be a great inspiration for all who are interested in design.
Here in Melbourne, I think the design community is really quite alive, and I think that small designer is almost more the norm than the exception, and so I feel like I'm very much part of a thriving large community of small designers.
The Audio Design Museum is a living museum where the city becomes the exhibition space. You could look at it like an urban safari about creativity. If you want to do the entire tour, you can download it to your device and print out the maps, which will guide you to the individual locations and give you some backgrounds on the designers. There you can listen to designers in their studios, their galleries and businesses. So it's a show and tell about their ideas, their creativity, and about the work they've made.